they went to the queen to tell her her subjects had no bread. Do you know what she said?
Let them eat cake.
Who took the bomb?
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people.
Good. Welcome to another episode of The Peasant's Perspective. And can I get a sound check? If anybody can do that for me, that'd be great. I don't get my own sound feedback, unfortunately. Let's see. Who do we got going on here? Yesterday was one of the biggest days I have ever experienced in the news cycle. We had major stuff happening, including with regards to the 2020 election. We're going to get to that today. But can I get a sound check before I start playing videos and doing all that kind of fun stuff? All right, who we got here? Frazier, Ponyboy, any of you guys out there? I know you're out there. I'm a couple minutes late because I'm broadcasting alone again today. I actually had to stop by Walmart today and buy a webcam. So if it looks a little funny, I apologize. I had literally minutes to get set up this morning and played around with the lighting. And why did I play with any of that stuff? I should have just left it as it was, but I couldn't really leave it as it was. All right, sounds like you are in a room. Like, what do you mean as I'm in a room? I'm always in a room. I'm indoors. Marizo, hi, Taylor. Good morning, everyone. Carlitos, welcome. Glad you guys have made it. You know what? Since I got you guys on here so early, you know what I'm going to do just so I can have it done and not have to worry about it again later and I can get all of my ad reads in? I'm going to go ahead and throw in an ad read right at the beginning of the show, which we don't ever usually normally do. Ready to level up your game? AIM Controllers is where custom meets unattainable value, and right now it's the best deal of the year. We start with an official Sony and Xbox controllers, fully compatible with console and PC, no functionality lost. Then you go wild with custom features, smart bumpers, paddles, grips, stick height, custom buttons, even design your own PS5 snap panels. And here's the part no one else is doing. Lifetime warranty on all modified parts. That's right. What other company does that? Exactly. Normally, a fully loaded setup could run you $400, but during our one price promo, it's just $209 United States dollars or 182 euros. No matter how many features you add, use code RUMBLE at checkout and lock it in. This is your sign. Go to AIM Controllers and build the last controller you'll ever need. You know, it's so funny. I grew up not being allowed to play video games. Thank you, Mom and Dad. It's probably a good thing for my life. But my kids, I consider video games like the playground. When I was a kid, I always lived close to an elementary school, and I would go play at the playground after school, and, you know, that's where all the local kids would meet up. And but my kids don't have that same opportunity. We don't live in a neighborhood where there's a playground nearby or even other kids. And so the rule in our house has always been you can play video games online as long as you have real life friends playing with you. So my kids do play video games, and one of those controllers looks pretty awesome. Okay, enough about controllers. Let's talk about yesterday. We had a massive piece of news, but before we get to it, sounds like you are broadcasting from a bathroom. There is like nothing I can do about that. Unfortunately, does this help any better? Does this help any better? Is there like a, actually, you know what? What about now? Is there sound now? I hit the stupid mute button. That's what the problem was. I got sound now, Frazier. Check. I apologize to all of you that listen after the fact. You'd think that I would go in and like edit this out, but we don't. We usually just leave it as is because, you know, we're like, you know, running on a shoestring here. We're just trying to get the content out for you guys. All right, great. Now we're good on sound. Woo, I was getting worried there. Okay, so yesterday was a huge news day, but before we jump into all the big news of yesterday, because there were two really big things that were kind of happening all day long. Shantini says, I can't hear you. I'm assuming that is an old thing because now everybody else is saying it's fine. So I'm not going to touch my microphone again. I love this microphone, by the way. Notice it's Shure, real nice brand. Okay, so we have to go back in time all the way back to 2020 election, right? So this is, for those of you that are longtime podcast listeners, this is Summer of Love 2020. And we started to see things happen. We started to see states suspending their state constitutions in order to administratively change their election rules. For example, Wisconsin allowing in mail-in ballots, absentee ballots at scale. They'd never done that before. They'd never had more than like 1,000 absentee ballots. And all of a sudden they were processing hundreds of thousands of absentee ballots, right? So how did we get there? How is it that we got to a position where the I'll just say the Democrats were able to steal an election? Well, this is from Dilly Team. And I played this on one of my very last episodes, like in the last week or two. Yep, I can heat you now. Okay. I played this on one of our last episodes that we broadcast before essentially pressure from the United States government shut the podcast down. And I say that. I know a lot of people kept broadcasting. I actually don't know of anybody that kept broadcasting except for like Steve Bannon, but he wasn't a J6er. I was being implicitly told by the attorney, shut your podcast down, basically. And so we did. And I'm glad we did because I needed headspace to go out and figure things out. But this is what we were covering in a nutshell all of 2020.
Start with a virus, import it into America. Talk about it nonstop. Call some governors. Not them. That's your guys. Put patients into nursing homes. Kill thousands. Blame the president. Keep blaming. Blame some more. Lock down small business. Kill the economy. Push mail-in voting. Stoke a race war. Call for riots. Pick a candidate. No, not her. Yeah, that's more like it. Lock him in his basement. Shield him from the press. Don't cover this. Don't cover this. Don't cover this. Keep doing that. Ignore the economic recovery. Downplay the world peace. Pump the pulse. Pump. Don't stop pumping. Install your software in swing states. That was fast. Take control of polling stations. Call off the election when you're losing. Kick everyone out. Pull out all the extra ballots. Get the software to do its thing. Get the media to say it's over. Call the big tech guys. Ban anyone who notices. Act like the whole thing never happened. Stealing the most powerful republic in the world. It's that easy.
And that is exactly how I felt in 2020. I was like, so that was it, huh? You just steal the election that way? You manufacture a virus, get everybody running around scared of their own shadow. And next thing you know, guess what's going on? We've got an election and things are not going well. All right, I just reopen, close tab. Perfect. Okay, I closed the wrong tab. So that is how they stole the 2020 election in a nutshell. They ran a COVID operation, which we know from Event 209, and with that COVID operation, which of course came out of Wuhan, China, right? That virus and the fear of that virus caused everything to be destabilized, right? Constitutions were being suspended. We were on lockdown, crashing the economy and blaming Trump nonstop to create the illusion that the American people were not behind Donald Trump. So when they stole the election, there would be some form of probable deniability. That would then allow the American people to consent by acquiescence to the fake president, Joe Biden. And he was a fake president. He was the autopin president. It was being run by his advisors. Obviously, no, he probably had stage 4 cancer for most of his presidency, suffering from dementia, on and on it goes. So what happened yesterday? Yesterday, in the middle of the day, all of a sudden, we got notification that the FBI was serving a warrant on the Fulton County Election Records Warehouse, which is one of the 2 possible locations of where they said the ballots were being stored during a Georgia Election Board hearing about the DOJ demanding the ballots. So now we're going to listen to this little clip here. We're going to listen to the discrepancies when asked where the physical ballots are located, and that comes from the Maricopa County Board of Elections. The board member was told 2 different locations, and that should tell us everything we need to know about the shady outcome. So let's take a listen to this. Starts out with Brett Baer, then it cuts over to that hearing.
Tonight, FBI agents are going through materials found today during a search of the Fulton County, Georgia election office. That search is said to be related to the 2020 election. Correspondent David Spunt has details tonight. Good evening, David.
Brett, good evening. FBI agents are still on site at the records warehouse for the Fulton County, Georgia Board of Elections.
That is a matter that's currently, Ms. Williams, do not answer. That is a matter that is currently, I believe, in litigation as well. And Ms. Adams, you well know that as well.
It is not in litigation.
If we are not
asking if we have the ballots from 2020. I'm a board member. Am allowed to ask a question about documents from 2020. Do we have
I believe that is.
Do we have the ballots?
As you've been told several times, the ballots are in the possession of the clerk of Superior Court.
So she has physical.
They are physically in the clerk of Superior Court warehouse and secured in that location.
Okay.
They've been there for 5 years.
The ballots and the records.
Correct.
From that election.
For the past 5 years, they have been in the clerk of Superior Court possession.
Okay. I had been told actually earlier that they were in our warehouse.
Nobody told you that, and they are in the clerk.
Well, wait a minute. Let's not debate that. You asked the question. She did give the answer. And I think the public does know that this matter is before, I believe, in Fulton County Superior Court. This matter is sitting there right now. And I believe there will be a ruling soon. I mean, I'm presuming since it's been there.
Right. Well, I do want to go on the record that I think with this letter from the DOJ that we should comply. And just want to go on the record that I am not fighting it at all. I think that with all the questions, we need to comply. We need to get all of the questions stopped. If everything's right, they'll just say everything's right, and it'll be great. But I just want to be on the record that I'm not obstructing anything from the SEB or the Department of Justice.
All right.
The matter is sealed before a court, meaning details are limited, but we can report this is related to the 2020 presidential election. Sources tell Fox News that agents retrieved documents, phones, and computers after a judge signed a warrant. President Trump has long made Georgia, and specifically Fulton County, a target of his complaints relating to the 2020 election. Shortly after that election, Trump spoke to Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, and said he needed 11,780 votes to win the state. At the time, Raffensperger said he felt pressure from Trump and denied any widespread election fraud. He continues to deny it to this day. Now, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis brought state criminal charges against then former President Trump and others in 2023 for conspiracy to overturn the election. But her prosecution, Brett, was eventually derailed completely after it was revealed she had an intimate relationship with the top prosecutor on her team, and it could have tainted the case. Late last year, a judge dismissed the case in its entirety. Now, Brett, last month, the Justice Department sued Fulton County, Georgia, seeking access to 2020 voting records after state officials allegedly failed to respond to a subpoena. Fox News has learned the head of the FBI's Atlanta field office was recently forced out in recent days, but it's unclear, Brett, if this is all related.
It is all related. Of course it's all related. Can you guys believe that? Can you guys believe that? It's happening. It's happening. The ballots were taken by the FBI yesterday. Pump, pump, pump. I woke up this morning. Now, obviously, we knew this news all yesterday, but, I'm busy working, doing the stuff I do. And I was like, all day long, it was kind of sitting, and I was super tired from traveling all weekend and getting up early for the podcast and stuff. And I got some sleep last night, and I woke up this morning, and I just felt like the lightest person ever, because you need to realize this whole election thing in 2020, this destroyed my name, right? My name, Taylor James Jonatakis, the name that I gave to my 4 boys, Taylor James, Taylor James, and Taylor James, and Taylor James. I named all my boys after me, okay? My name was going to be held as a terrorist, as an insurrectionist in the history books. That's one of the hardest things you can do, because that's all you have. Go back and look at the Salem witch trials. And I can't even remember the guy's name, but the guy that said I wouldn't, agree that I was a witch or whatever to save my life, because all I have is my name. So yesterday, watching this come out, I was like, my name is about to be vindicated. And it was the greatest feeling of all, right? That the burden of my convictions humbled me. To live true to what I believed, right? To see with my eyes and be my own judge. The burden of that conviction, the conviction of my own judgment, humbled me at what that took. And then to turn around and endure 1,000 evils rather than consent to the conspiring lies of men who tried to overturn our republic and take our country from us. That was yesterday was the start of vindication for living true to my convictions rather than acquiescing to the lies of men. It was a huge day yesterday. Now, there are men out there who are liars, who do not see with their eyes, who do not know that 2 + 2 = 4 and A equals A, in the words of Ayn Rand. This is the Fulton County chairman, Rob Pitts, and they did a little impromptu press conference yesterday at the Fulton County warehouse. And why? Because they're terrified. They're terrified of what's about to happen. We're going to go through a couple of these leftists and what they're talking about and how terrified they are. This is posted by Heather Mullins. She's a reporter. She's a reporter. Okay, and listen to this. These guys are absolutely terrified about what's taking place. Also, I've got the live chats up on the screen so everybody gets to see them. So chat away, guys. This is one of the most celebratory days that we've had in this podcast. I don't know that we're going to celebrate more until we start seeing some of the people who perpetrated this crime in handcuffs, but this is a big deal.
Now they have been removed from this facility, out of our control. We don't know where they're being taken. We don't know what's going to happen to them. So we can no longer, and I can no longer, as chair of this board, satisfy not only the citizens of Atlanta, but the citizens of the world that those ballots are still secure. So that is a major concern that I have right now. Again, the point is, once they were here, as long as they were here in control of Fulton County, I was confident that they were safe and secure. The other point I'd like to make, this goes back to the 2020 elections. For the life of me, I still cannot understand the fascination about the 2020 elections, which occurred 6 years ago. That election is over with. That election has been reviewed, it's been audited, and in every case, every instance, we get a clean bill of health. If there's anybody who knows what happened in 2020 on that night at State Farm Arena, it was Fulton County Commission Chairman Rob Pitts. I was there. So the fascination with this, I still don't understand it, but we'll have more to say later.
I just want to say that Fulton County Department of Registration and Elections is always and will continue to maintain fair, transparent, and accurate elections. And we will continue to do the work of the electorate here in Fulton County. The FBI is still in the building. We have fully complied. We will always comply with law enforcement and with the rule of law. And that's what we do here in Fulton County. And that's all I have to say.
Mr. Pitt, how concerned are you, sir? How concerned are you voter information will be compromised?
Are you worried that the 2026 midterms will be compromised? Wow. These guys are terrified, man. They are absolutely terrified because they're guilty. They're guilty of sin. And, they're guilty till proven innocent, but good gravy. I just want to show you guys a couple things here. So this is my Facebook. Please go find me on, not Facebook. This is X. I'm not really on Facebook, but we are streaming on Facebook at the Peasants Perspective. Those listeners, I see a couple of you are paying attention on Facebook. Okay, so this is my X. TJ6 is the name, gone 4 months. You guys can find me there. Former J6 political prisoner. If you live on planet Earth and don't know me, you're going to miss something, baby. And that is really one of my mottos. I've been saying that for 25 years almost. Okay. So there's us live, of course. Okay, so I posted this morning. I bet at Real Jenna Ellis is wishing she hadn't taken the plea deal this morning. This is her in Georgia pleading to basically trying to overturn the election, even though the state of Georgia is the one who's guilty of those crimes. And then I've got this here. This is from Pennsylvania. And if you guys remember this, and this is when I knew all you needed to know, the rest was dressing. Everything after this moment just became confirmation of the scam. There would be no reason to prevent ballot observers from watching the ballot and having to cover up windows if you didn't have something to hide. See with your eyes. right? You don't have to cover things up if you have nothing to hide. Doesn't mean you don't want privacy, but elections is not the time when you want privacy. That's when you want to count those freaking ballots. So anyways, I do want to share this one other thing. This is Tommy Tuberville. Tommy Tuberville was on with Benny Johnson, and Tommy Tuberville, he's running for governor now. If you're in Alabama, please vote for him. That's where he's from. Yeah. Okay, he says this. He says that the capture of Maduro will lead to full exposure of election fraud and foreign interference. He will sing. I don't think there's any doubt that didn't start under Maduro. It started under Hugo Chavez. He came up with the system that got himself elected. When that happened, he said, heck, we'll just do this internationally. So let's take a listen to Tommy Tuberville.
President Trump's been posting a lot about Venezuelan election theft technology after black bagging Nicolas Maduro. Do you think that he's going to sing like a canary? Do you think that he's the man who knows where all the bodies are buried when it comes to this topic?
I don't think there's any doubt. That now this didn't start under Maduro. It started under Hugo Chavez, the president before that, because he got recalled in an election, and he came up with this system of machines that he was able to put out within his country and got himself elected. And then when that happened, he said, heck, we'll just do this internationally. So they started selling them all over the world, and that's how we ended up with them here. And now they're all controlled by a tech group in Venezuela. But I would hope that he would be singing, as you said, like a canary and telling people what's really going on. I would think that this is a lot of why President Trump went in there, because he knows the world cannot survive with crooks running the voting systems, not just in our country, but all over the world. And we cannot allow these machines to continue on. We have to have paper ballots, one-day voting, and everybody has to show up with an ID. If we don't do that, it's going to be over. We cannot survive like this. And again, to get this passed, what do we need to do? It's passed in the House. We're going to have to bust the filibuster. We're going to have to bust the filibuster, and then we're going to have to get
He's talking about the SAVE Act.
some of these rhinos to vote with us. I don't know whether we get 51, even if we bust the filibuster and actually do something for the country. I hate to say that, but I've seen things work up here for 6 years, and we've got a lot of people that just do not believe in President Trump. They don't like him, and they want him gone, and they feel like this is a way they can get rid of him.
So the Republicans are essentially conspiring not to pass the SAVE Act. But Tommy Tuberville goes on to say one of the reasons they don't want to do it is he believes they got a half dozen or so senators that they owe their stolen seats to these elections. Guys, we were in bad shape as a country. Obviously, we've been talking about this for a long time. It's been really, really terrifying, right? As someone who's paid some consequence for this, right? 14 months in prison on a 7-year sentence. This is not small stuff. These guys cheated. They overthrew the country. What is the penalty for treason? What is the penalty for actual sedition? These consequences for them are high stakes. And you see how the nature of man buckles under state pressure. The plea deals, the people who went groveling and crying to judges. I didn't mean to. I was beguiled. I was lied to by Rudy Giuliani and everybody. They weren't lied to. They told us the truth. The liars were always the liars. It's the people in power that wanted to preserve that power. Power wants to preserve itself. It doesn't want to turn itself over. That was the brilliance of the American system, is a president leaves every 4 years, which doesn't give enough time to actually consolidate power, right? That was what was so dangerous about Franklin Roosevelt, was he did have long enough to consolidate power. And we got the New Deal legislation, which created all these government enterprises, which is what we're suffering under the burden of today. Right? You can't print government money and spend it if you don't have departments to spend it with. It redirected America's finances to corporations and to government holdings instead of to the people, right? Because you had enough time to consolidate power. And then what happened over all this other time? We've seen the consolidation of power within the legislature, not enough turnover, and then of course they start getting advantage of with these fake elections. You've got the communists down in Venezuela putting people in power who were basically allowing the controlled demolition of our country. We're too strong to conquer by bullets, but we were pretty easy to conquer by machine software because most Americans don't know how to read code, and we're not allowed to read code. And even the simple stuff like counting ballots, they put paper up in the window so we couldn't even see that. This is Steve Bannon yesterday on War Room. talking with Garland Favorito. And Garland Favorito is the attorney down in Georgia who basically preserved all these ballots. In Georgia, they destroy ballots after 2 years. They've preserved them for over 5. Why? Because Garland Favorito on January 6, 2021, stood up for this country like so many others and got a court order to preserve the ballots. Had it not been for that, those ballots would not be preserved. So this is Garland Favorito talking about that with Steve Bannon.
Tell people how tough it's been for you guys at Vote Georgia and your other colleagues to make sure that we got to this day that the evidence is not supposed to be destroyed. It's all supposed to be in that warehouse, sir.
Exactly what I was going to say. We got the original protective order on these ballots. Guess what day it was? January 6th of 2021 was when we got the original protective order, I believe, on these ballots. Isn't that ironic? We were literally in a remote court scene when on January 6th, and Fulton County is packed up in the middle and went home and had to reconvene from their homes that day. So ever since then, when we won the Georgia Supreme Court case, then that reinstated the protective order on those ballots. So I think that was the key to preserving them. And then so many others have asked for the same thing, the Harrison Floyd case and so on. But that's why they're still there. It's just perseverance from getting them protected from the very beginning.
Garland, there's police tape around the parking lot. There's an FBI van, and they're loading now, I guess, with a forklift. The Democrats, local Democrats outside with you, they're freaked out. Inside the building, they didn't let the 2 representatives of the Georgia State Election Board in. Just tell me, and MSNBC says, I don't know what these guys, we have no earthly idea what they're looking for. Why are the Democrats shocked that this day has finally arrived?
Well, I think they know that they cheated in the 2020 election, and it's all going to come out now. And it's a whole cover operation that's going on out here with the cameras and all the rhetoric going on.
Yeah, I think they just can't believe that they're finally getting caught because they have worked so hard to continue this cover up.
You're saying that they never thought they'd be.
Look at the smiles on their faces. Look at the smiles on their faces. So there's another clip that I don't know if I'm going to play it or not, but there's a moment where a reporter is like, everybody out here, other than like a handful of people, like Garland Favorito and these people, are just, it's like a wedding procession, watching the trucks leave with the ballots. They're caught red-handed and they can't do anything about it, right? He said it's just, what's going on? And this is fraud. And we know how the ballots aren't under our protection. They're freaking out. But look at the smiles on these guys' faces. These guys know. They've been around the whole time. They know what they're going to find in those ballots: unfolded papers, unsigned ballots, duplicate ballots, photocopied ballots, auto-filled out ballots, ballots that don't match the number of ballot envelopes. Guys, they're going to find a freaking disaster, just like they did in Arizona, except instead of some private company wussing out and saying this election wasn't fair, they're going to go, well, there's so much fraud, I guess we'll have to ask the election board if it was fair or not, right? This is going straight to the Department of Justice. Trump yesterday established an entire new division of the Department of Justice to go after fraud. Wouldn't be surprised if this is all involved with that.
But the arrogance of these guys, never thought we'd get to having the FBI with police tape, with a criminal search warrant in there and loading up a big, almost like a Mack truck.
Exactly, Steve. And you know why? They knew that Brad Raffensperger would protect them, and they knew that the corrupt Fulton County judicial system would protect them. And they thought that was enough until they didn't count on Trump winning the 2024 election and him being in control of the DOJ and the FBI civil and criminal divisions.
And this is not just a Democrat thing. Raffensperger
it's
has
Republican
been trying to
establishment.
cover this.
Yes.
Yes.
Raffensperger, Chris Carr, even Kemp. Kemp didn't lift a finger on this. He fought you guys the entire way.
Yes,
exactly.
That's right.
Hang on for 1 second, guys. Stay right there. I know this is an incredible day, historic day. And what they didn't plan on was Trump winning, but they also didn't plan on any being patriots like Tamara and my man, Garland Favorito, that would fight for 6 years, having got a protective order on January 6th of 2021. Remember that day? Remember that day? Well, you didn't know that a protective order was given. This is the payoff of that. This is a criminal.
It is a criminal enterprise what they got going on there. Wow. It makes me so happy to see it. I have a smile on my face. And, I wish that I had a little bit more coffee in my cup this morning, but don't worry. You guys still have a chance to get some coffee. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. Only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold, dark roast that hits hard, the smooth, medium roast, and the Vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus, no crash. All single origin. Small batch, toxin-free and mold-free. Plus, you're also getting a golden spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. A strong father enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions. And a black 1775 tumbler. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. Please go get your coffee and enjoy a sip with me. You know what we've forgotten the last couple days? We have forgotten the simultaneous sip. That has been a problem. We are going to get right back on that tradition starting tomorrow morning. Okay. Can't believe I forgot that. Oh my goodness. All right, you guys, it is a great day. So yesterday, Donald Trump posted a lot of clips on his Truth Social. And one of the clips he posted is this one right here. Okay, so I got to do that whole share screen thing. Okay, so one of the clips he posted is this one right here. President Trump just posted the FBI left with 700 2020 election ballot boxes in Fulton County. This is huge. The left is in panic mode right now. Expose the fraud. And that's what he posted here. They have now officially departed with 7,000 2020 election ballots. Let's take a listen.
Random truck boxes, but Jason, explain to us what is currently happening 10 feet away from us.
Yeah, David, this is a beautiful day. We've been trying to get these ballots, everything from 2020, pretty much since 2020. We've been told time and again, everything was fine. Don't worry about it. Why are you investigating 2020? This happened so many years ago. You know what? If there was nothing to hide, they would have showed us years ago. Now we're going to find out. These trucks are on their way to Virginia. They're going to be out of state very soon, and it is time to get to the bottom of 2020.
So basically, it's about 700 ballot boxes from the 2020 election because, Again, this is the Fulton County election office. Today, FBI executed a search warrant where they seized essentially those 700 boxes.
Everything.
And now they've officially left. This is the train, as we'll say, that's on the way, hopefully, out of Georgia.
In safe keepings.
Exactly. We don't want a judge to suddenly, and real quickly, we'll get to the judge in a second. These are actual people that that you've been fighting together with since 2020.
Yes.
Trying to make this a possibility. You've been here till the minute that they left, and it seems like they're probably going to follow them to make sure that everything will be fine and secure.
We've got to make sure the ballots get there and there are no hiccups. Yeah. But this is a beautiful day.
Absolutely.
We need to get to the bottom of this. Whoever won, we just want the answers.
So what happens if we find out that Joe Biden didn't win? I mean, we've assumed that. We've just operated under that. But what happens? What happens to all the legislation, all the laws? Trump's already voided it because of the auto pen, but I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of the prisoners that Joe Biden let out and commuted their sentences, they're still out. J6 committee's still out running free, right? I mean, it's like Anthony Fauci's still out running free. All the people that Joe Biden commuted and pardoned are running free. I haven't seen any of them rearrested. I haven't seen any laws being overturned. I haven't seen any of that, right? So this is the start. Okay, you voided it because it's auto pen. But now when you can actually prove that he was not the president, that the authority of the people did not rest in him, what happens? What happens? Who knows? The answer is who knows, right? I do think that we're just going to have a return to normal order, but what happens between now and then? Now, one of the stories that we haven't followed super close is the story of Eric Coomer. Now, he was the president of Dominion Voting Systems, or CEO, whatever he was. And there's a phrase that you learn in prison called loose lips sink ships, right? Snitches get stitches. Well, Eric Coomer was such a anti-Trump, anti-conservative, whatever person. He's an Antifa guy. He was so prideful that he talked about his crime. And what happened was Joe Altman, who I'm going to share with you here in just a moment, Joe Altman happened to be on a Zoom conference call when the CEO of Dominion Voting Machines admitted and said that he was going to stop Trump and make sure of it, and he had control of the machines. He went to a deposition 2 days ago with the Patrick Byrne lawsuit, because these guys are all kind of, pulling on the thread of election fraud, and they're either working together or closely affiliated. And Eric Coomer admitted under oath that he worked with international actors in Venezuela and Serbia and others to overthrow the election. And then, of course, 2 days later, we get this raid. This is the story of how they found out about Eric Coomer.
Just so you know, I've been blocked on every social media. I've been canceled on every platform. Emerald Robinson's talking about who? Eric Coomer. Benny Johnson talking about who? Eric Coomer. DC Drano talking about who? Eric Coomer. What's everybody talking about? Eric Coomer. Guess who's got to fly back into the country for another deposition? Eric Coomer. Oh, yeah. I'm going to tell you right now, arrests will be made. People are going to prison. Don't worry about it. Trump's not going to win. I made sure of it. And how did I find him? Because he just couldn't help himself. He had to get on an Antifa call and he had to talk about it. And then I had to just dig in. Because even up until that point, nobody knew. And I built a model and sent it to Washington. And they're like, hey, we want you to come here. And I came there and I was like, here it is. The first model ever built on how they stole the elections.
And what was that model? They used the machines to change the algorithm, which then, once they knew how many ballots they needed for any future audits or counting, they backloaded it with ballots, right? And that was the model he took to the White House, and that was the working model. And there has been a lot of debate. Some people are like, it's not the machines, it's the ballots, it's mail-in ballots. Some people are like, it's the machines, it's not the ballots. In fact, that debate kind of split Trump's support base because you had people running in different directions. The two things work together. And just like Patrick Byrne said, they have 14 or 15 different ways to cheat, and it's different in every county based on the different state and county rules. And so they've got some group in China that went through every county in America, every jurisdiction, and they broke down the rules. And so it's like, okay, in this jurisdiction, we do, method 2, 7, and 8 to cheat to backload ballots. Over here, we do 13, 14, and 2 methods to cheat. But the machines are what created the count, which then required them to have the ballots to backload, and it was different in every state. What this did is it sent people running in different directions. If you were chasing ballots in one county, you were looking at a different type of fraud than in the county next to you. So you couldn't really collaborate as to what you were finding because it looked different. The common thread was the machines. And this is why Tina Peters is in prison, because she proved that the machines changed the outcome, which then completely explains all the ballot manipulations. And if you have any doubt, right, about what this looked like in real time, this right here, just to go back in time to when the 2020 election was being counted and called, this is how the media reacted. And this is what they did. And you're going to hear and hear about a water main break. And just so you understand, right now, sitting 5 years out, that water main break was a toilet that was flooding in a completely different part of the building. So all of a sudden, a clogged toilet is enough to stop counting for the most important election on the face of the earth?
Well, we've also got some breaking news right now, so we want to check in with CBS's Mark Strassman. He is in Georgia, where they're having a big problem counting some of the votes. Mark?
Nora, this is an election return watch party here on the edge of Atlanta. These are mostly excited Democrats because when's the last time Georgia thought of itself as a battleground state? After a record early returns and essentially a day of problem-free voting, there is now a hitch in the tabulation of votes. I'm standing in Fulton County. Fulton County includes a chunk of Atlanta. Downtown Atlanta is State Farm Arena, where the Atlanta Hawks play. They are tabulating the absentee ballots of Fulton County, Georgia's most populous county. A water pipe has broken inside the arena. They had counted 86,000 absentee ballots. We don't know how many more they have yet to tabulate, but all the tabulation of those ballots has now stopped. We're told by election officials they may not finish tabulating those votes for a day or two. So depending how close the rest of the state is, we may not know the result of this critical battleground state for another day or two. That is because, again, a water pipe has broken in State Farm Arena. State Farm Arena is where they were counting the absentee ballots of Georgia's most populous county. And now the tabulation has stopped. Big development here.
But Mark, do you know how many ballots we're talking about? What that means?
We don't know. We've asked that question, Gail, and we haven't got an answer for that yet. We know that there were 86,000, but apparently it's a very labor-intensive process. And what they are telling us is that it's going to take a day or two, which suggests to me that they have a lot to go.
Which suggests to me they have a day or two. So for, a couple hundred years, we could get election results on election day, but on that day alone, we don't know how many ballots left to count. We've got to stop counting. Give us a minute. We've got trucks inbound. That's what was happening behind the scenes. Now it seems super obvious, right? For those of us that have followed this story and paid the price for sticking to our beliefs in it, it has been huge. Yesterday, ABC, that same network, this is how their reaction was finding out about the FBI warrant and the seizure of these ballots. Again, listen to the panic in their voices. Listen to this.
John, we've also been following that FBI raid today at an election hub in Fulton County, Georgia. What stands out to you from what we know so far?
Well, frankly, Andrew, forgive me for being direct, but this is nuts. This is all relitigating the election in Georgia in 2020, which is the most litigated election in the history of American presidential elections. You remember, just a little bit of background on this. In Georgia, they actually counted the ballots 3 times. They counted them after Election Day. Then they did an entire recount by machine after the election. And then they did a hand recount of some 5 million ballots. It took days and days before they had an official result. As a result of that, the Republican governor, Brian Kemp, said the election was perfectly safe. The Republican Secretary of State said that the election was an accurate one. Trump told him to find 11,780 ballots, precisely the number that he would have needed to win. Apparently, he's still trying to find those ballots after all these years.
After all these years, he's still trying to find those ballots because you guys had them locked up in a warehouse. Panic mode. Totally panic mode. Most litigated election ever. Yeah, they've been in court for all these years. I decided today to wear my Make America Great Again hat. I bought this hat on January 6th on the way to the Capitol. I bought a black, a white, and a red one for my boys. And anyways, I've never worn this hat, but I'm like, I'm wearing that hat today. Today is a Make America Great Again hat day. This is awesome, right? They're in real panic mode. We watched it happen in real time. They stole that election, right? That meme video from Diddley Team at the beginning, the whole COVID narrative, the BLM, George Floyd riots, creating, crashing the economy, the lockdowns, chasing us around with masks and needles. All that was to create so much cognitive dissonance and to create a narrative that it's possible that Trump could lose the election, that he's that unpopular. Look at the unrest in 2020. It just wasn't the reality. It wasn't the reality. The economy was strong. The whole thing was an op in order to overthrow the constitutional republic of the United States, which was hanging by a thread. It was hanging by a thread. And who came to the rescue? We the people. We the people came to the rescue. You're going to see that. Who's coming to the rescue for the fraud in Minnesota, California? We the people. Who came to the rescue of the 2020 election? We the people. Who always bails us out of a hard time? We the people. Every time, we the people bail ourselves out. When we become aware that we need a bailout, well, guess what? Enough people realized it. This is one of the election council women. See, I don't know her position exactly, but she's on the board of elections. Okay. And she is inside the building where they're grabbing the ballots. They won't let her into the inside where the ballots are actually at. And again, listen to her voice, listen to the panic, listen to what she's saying, and just go with the premise. If you have nothing to hide in something like this, an election, then why are you not allowing the government to just, take a quick gander at the ballots?
Hi, everybody. Listen, I know you're watching the news. You're saying a lot of stuff about this FBI raid at the Fulton County elections and registrations. I'm on the inside right now. So I just want you to be like real discerning about all that you're hearing from people who are on the outside of what's going on. I'm going to give you the truth about what's happening. So they served a warrant, the FBI, this is Trump, serving a warrant to go pick up the 2020 ballots, which are in a secure location inside of here, 700 boxes. The first warrant that they gave was incorrect legally, like they didn't follow the right procedure. They went back and they fixed it, and they came back, and now they are actually collecting the boxes. They are in the chain of command in Fulton County is that once they are archived, they become the possession of the clerk of Superior Court, which is Shay Alexander. She is here and she is with them inventorying everything that they're taking. We, the commissioners, the chairman, the county attorney, are trying to figure out a legal plan as to maybe an injunction, a motion to quash. We don't know yet. We're trying to figure it out. We're getting all kinds of legal advice to stop this, because once they have the ballots, how do we then turn around and do something different when they've already got their hands on it? So this is an attempt.
They can't lie about the ballots anymore. They can't say nothing to see here, folks. When the FBI in a court filing, or not the FBI, but the DOJ in a court filing shows duplicate signature, unfolded ballots, they're blankety blanked right now. They are so screwed.
To take your vote away. This is all about November 2026, about the primary on May 19th and then the November election. He does not want the midterm elections to take away his power. So he's trying to create chaos. So this is what he does. Chaos in Minnesota, chaos in Fulton County. We are a target. Protect your vote at all costs. I'm telling you, everybody always says your life depends on it. Oh, your life does depend on it this time.
I think her life depends on it this time. What was the consequence for treason, sedition, for deprivation of rights and civil rights under color of law? What's the consequences for this? The panic in her voice, the fear. They're taking the ballots. This is about the primary and the midterm elections. Damn right it is. What did I say, Franklies that have joined the Peasants? What do I say? What did I say on Frank's podcast? If you can fix the elections, we can flush out a lot of this nonsense. If the elections are fixed and we're not registering illegal aliens, if the elections are fixed and we don't have thousands of people registered at abandoned buildings and train stations, right, which I'm going to show you here in just a second in Georgia, if we can get the voter rolls cleaned up, if we can get the counting of ballots fixed, if we can get the margin of cheating down to, some guy brought 3 ballots or something like it used to be, they'd catch some judge that dropped 3 ballots in the box and, he'd get slap on the wrist. If we can get back to that, just a little bit of fraud rather than grand scale fraud, good gravy. Can't even believe I have to say it that way. We can flush a lot of this stuff out. A lot of these communists that run our cities, these mayors that don't seem to know what they're doing at all. The election system, the people can flush them out. The way it's been right now is we can't really flush them out because there's no security in the elections. And it's not just about our federal representatives. It's about the state representatives. It's about the election boards. It's about the school boards. It's about all these things. You can't flush any of it out. You can't fix anything. All you can do is make noise. You can show up at a PTA meeting and, tell them you don't like some policy. But you can't have any confidence that you can actually vote one of those board members out. All you can do is be so annoying that they acquiesce to the demands of the public. The people are not the boss in the last who knows how many years. But now there's a chance. And all of this, and I'll emphasize this again, has been happening because of local action. It hasn't been the government that has done this. It's been people who have decided to take matters into their own hands and get some justice. Here's an example of another citizen journalist who tracked down where the bulk of this voter registration is, and they started paying attention to addresses that had a lot of registrants.
There are people who are registered to vote directly from this location right here. It is 1401 Lee Street. Does this look like a place that people live here?
I haven't found any mailboxes. I don't see any beds. It doesn't look like it to me.
Doesn't look too comfy to sleep here. So, Jason, explain to us, like with all the other places, people aren't legally able to register to vote from here, yet they ended up on our registration voter rolls. What is going on? What is the state going to do about this?
I'm not sure what the state's going to do about it. I turned in this address to Fulton County a couple of years ago. I turned it into the state a couple of years ago. And then recently I went back through and looked at every one of those that I had turned in and checked to see how many people are still registered to vote at those bad addresses today. and how many votes have been cast at those bad addresses. And my understanding, based on Georgia law, is OCGA 212590 clearly says that that is a felony to knowingly allow somebody to vote illegally. And that, in my opinion, is what's happening.
That is what's happening. It makes, you can't have people registered to vote at a train station, and there's lots of them, right? Citizen journalists going out and exposing this thing, and good American patriots like Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell and others that informed us early on about all these different things, right? When you take a look at the sum of the fraud, the affidavits, the allegations of machine cheating, if you look at putting up paper in the windows for election observers, not allowing election observers that were in the room to even stand close enough to see the ballots, all of that added up to one simple conclusion that Rudy Giuliani shared with us, right? He shared this with us years ago. This doesn't change. And anybody who participated in confirming the stolen 2020 election that was in a position to know better, you're in trouble. You're in trouble.
I mean, the one thing you will come away with here is the vote as it presently exists is false. It's fraudulent. If they certify it, they are certifying a false statement to the United States of America. Gosh, when I was a prosecutor, that was a federal crime.
When he was a prosecutor, federal crime. And guess what? It still is a federal crime. What's the statute of limitations on those things? I doubt there is one, especially if you amplify it to the fact that it was a full-blown attempt to overthrow the government. It was an actual insurrection, not like the fake one I was accused of participating in. Julie Donuts here posts from Donald Trump's Truth. He posted this, and this goes all the way back again to the things we covered 5 years ago. Maria Zack testified about the stolen 2020 election operation connected to Obama when he diverted $400 million from the infamous pallets of cash sent to Iran. There's Iran's involvement, funneling through the Dubai embassy to operatives in Italy. Oh, Italy, we haven't heard that for a while. That was the whole Leonardo satellites, and Merrill Lynch in Geneva, Switzerland. In return, Italian officials, we were told this was fake, at Leonardo SPA used military satellites to help hack U.S. voting machines, flipping votes from Trump to Biden using CIA-developed tools like Hammer and Scorecard. Oh, wait, I thought we were told Hammer and Scorecard wasn't real. I remember learning all about Hammer and Scorecard. I was pouring a concrete slab foundation for a DADU, a detached additional dwelling unit house that I was installing in downtown Seattle. And I was learning about Hammer and Scorecard as a peasant. As a peasant, I knew that our intelligence agencies were highly involved in the overthrow of the 2020 election. Meanwhile, I was under federal indictment for their crimes, along with numerous other methods found of fraud and manipulation. China, there's China involved. We know that they're behind all this, reportedly coordinated. Remember those offices where they figured out what had to be done in every county? The whole operation, providing the tech backbone and bribes to corrupt Americans. The CIA oversaw it. The FBI covered it up, all to install Biden as a puppet. This is a global election fraud cartel and the real threat against American democracy and the rest of the world. That was posted by Trump. Guys, this is the truth, right? Trump's always right. He cares about that stuff. He doesn't want to be wrong. It's one of the reasons why he backed down for a while, because he had advisors telling him that the election wasn't stolen. They were giving him legitimately bad advice, right? Now, yesterday in 1776 Live, in the class we were teaching, one of the concepts that we were going over out of the dictionary itself was this idea of custom and this idea of consent. When we acquiesce to a thing, right, it becomes the law. And the people can override any kind of written law simply by, in bulk, not applying it to themselves. This is the power of the people. Government is not by title, it's by agreement, it's by consent of the governed. Here's one of the prominent Democrats who's on the short list of potentially running for president in 2028. This is Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg is telling you exactly that. It doesn't matter what the law does, it matters what the people do. And this is why we need to be very, very concerned about what's coming. Right? We found a little bit of election fraud in Minnesota. And what did that turn into? It turned into riots over ICE deportations, which had been happening all along. Now we discover election fraud in Georgia, right? And what's going to happen? What's the left going to do? Well, Pete Buttigieg is telling Jen Psaki exactly what they're going to do. They need the people to push back. They're going to organize a pushback.
The ultimate backstop is the American people. Yes, we would hope it would be Congress. Certainly we look to the courts. But at the end of the day, Any of those kinds of maneuvers cannot work if the American people stand unified against them. That's part of why what's happening right now is so important. The political pressure that is working in so many ways, changing outcomes, not on election day later on, but right now. We saw some glimmers of it with Republicans defying Trump, a handful of them, of course, but a few of them defying him on the Epstein files.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it in Indiana, where, to my amazement, having gone there, worked on it, held rallies to oppose the gerrymandering, I was still amazed when so many elected Republicans joined unified Democrats and said no to the direct demands of President Trump. We saw it in the vote on the tax credits for the ACA, where you had, I was just in Western Wisconsin. We did a town hall in the district of Derek Van Orden, one of the MAGA congressmen who won't face his own constituents. He miraculously flipped at the very last minute and changed his vote, even though he's still for tearing down the Affordable Care Act, changed his vote to be for the tax credits. And now you're seeing it in, House and Senate members, Republicans, saying, we got to have hearings, we got to have an investigation. To me, all of this is an indication that these people know they cannot outrun the will of the people. And that ultimately will be our best defense against anything that he tries to pull as Election Day draws nearer.
Yes, he is talking about just what I said. They're going to coordinate a public effort to try to push back. One of the things that you see with these Republicans is they're so in the news cycle. Like what's happening in Minnesota, it has massive impact because of the fraud, right? But they're not talking about the fraud. They're talking about pedophiles that are being rounded up for ICE. They're protecting these people. They're making this huge scene over it, right, to distract from the fraud. And now they want hearings and stuff. So he's absolutely right? Facts don't matter, narratives do. Facts don't matter, narratives do. Facts don't win. We know the election was stolen, but the narrative has been that don't look here, look over there. We know there's corruption in Minneapolis, but the narrative has been, oh, look at ICE. They're rounding up protesters who are violently assaulting them, and they're not, it's like a complete mess. That's what they're planning on. They're planning on getting popular support. As conservatives, we have to hold the line. Right? I don't know that there's going to be big public pushes or things like that, but now is the time. Now is the time to write your senators, your representatives, your local state, your local election board. Encourage them, implore them to participate within the elections, to reveal any information that they've been holding and sitting on. Get the information out there. Get on the winning side of this. Get on the side of truth. Now is the time. Guys, culture matters, narrative matters, people having the same perspective matters. That's what made America great again in the back old days, is everybody was assimilated. Everybody wanted the American dream. We were all marching toward a common goal and a common objective. And what was that? Our pursuit of happiness. But now what's happened is we've become so balkanized. You've got communities of different ethnicities that are refusing to assimilate. It's a huge problem. We have to be the solution. Please, at this time, right now, we got a lot of people listening. Repost the show, like the show, post a comment, not just in the chats, but down in the show notes. It helps the algorithm. Spread the peasants' perspective, because we as peasants, we have to live here. No matter what state you're in, we're all under one flag. The United States of America, right? It's supposed to be equal justice under the law, not the two-tier justice system that I experienced. Your vote is supposed to matter. It's not supposed to be performative, which it has been ever since Maduro and Chavez started pushing these machines around the world. The global instability that they've created, the migration crisis, right? This is manufactured. It was manufactured starting at the ballot box, and then the media backloaded it, acting like that was the true public support, that was the direction the people wanted to go, and it was never true. It was never true. It doesn't matter if you were Swedish and you didn't want a bunch of Afghanistan migrants being dropped in your neighborhoods to rape your wives and daughters. It doesn't matter if you're in Germany and you're watching your industrial production and what jobs there are going to illegal immigrants for low wages. It doesn't matter if you're England and you're watching these Arab grooming rape gangs getting covered up by your politicians. Nobody voted for that. Nobody voted for that. Unwinding it is going to be one of the greatest challenges humanity has ever faced, next to, if not greater than, rebuilding Europe after World War II under the Marshall Plan. Rooting out all of this corruption in one fell swoop is probably too big a lift, let's be honest. which is why the election systems matter, because the people can flush this out. This is also why I'm so concerned about culture, like how I discussed yesterday, my conversation with the two Zoomerwaffens on the airplane, which they're great people, but they've been completely and entirely indoctrinated to the point that their virtue of tolerance has been weaponized against them, to tolerate differing opinions that aren't just wrong or different, but are rooted in lies. We've gotten to the point of America where good is evil and evil is good, up is down and right is left. Everything seems to be the opposite. We've been living in a Truman Show, but it's coming to an end. Carlite says, where's Ron? Ron is recovering from a medical procedure, and he'll be back, and I'll let him tell the story of that if he wants to when he gets back. But I'm sure he'll be back tomorrow. I expected him today. I'm sure he'll be back very soon. But prayers for Ron, absolutely. Okay, with that, let me go back up here into the chat. 1776 Live PMA, thank you for posting. Register for this evening's free Ignite with Taylor at 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on real estate and trust training to help people take control of their finances and protect their assets. Yes, please do. Check us out over there at 1776live.us. If you're not already a member of the community, please go check it out. That's where everything that I talk about on this show, all the problems we see, my community, we don't just see the problems. We want to apply solutions. And the number one solution is putting your own house in order, protecting your wealth generationally, protecting yourself from asset seizure, all those kind of things, as well as learning how to live in the private. So you're not on the government's radar all the time, which is more and more of a concern that we should have as Americans constantly. It's an evergreen problem for us. 1776 Live is not philosophy. It's not theory. It's applicable remedies to the challenges we face when we interact with the government and other commercial entities that try to take away our freedom. So yes, please come join us over at 1776 Live. It's a lot of fun. It's a great community. And a lot of our audience listeners already have joined over there, and I love you guys to death. We get to talk so much. Just so you guys know, on a typical day, I pump out between 4 to 4.5 hours of content between this podcast and at 1776 Live. So there's a lot of really rich information and all the deep dives, all the really intricate stuff to assess how government is built, we talk about over at 1776 Live. Our main course book is the dictionary. Understand the words and you understand the world. Carlitz also says, we are so grateful, 1776 Live. Check them out. You'll be glad you did. Yeah, Carlitz is one of our big success stories over there. Okay, so Norm Eisen was on MS Now with Jenna Griswold, who they call Fannie Mae in the mountains. That's kind of funny. And they're talking about this warrant that was served yesterday in Fulton County, Georgia. They're very concerned. Now, remember, Jenna Griswold is the Secretary of State that essentially is one of the main persecutors of Tina Peters, right? It's on Jenna Griswold's order that Tina Peters was prosecuted, and it's Jenna Griswold who could have essentially provided information that would have prevented Tina Peters' prosecution. It's Jenna Griswold that ordered that the Dominion voting machines have that programming override that covered up the last election, that Tina Peters got the forensic copy before they did the update. And so we're able to see the discrepancy. It's also where we actually got to see the algorithm they used to cheat. So this is Jenna Griswold and Mark Elias opining on MS Now about this warrant.
Democratic Association of Secretaries of State, Jenna Griswold. Really good to have you.
Thanks for having me on.
Just first off, this is something I was curious about earlier. States run their own elections. What is the FBI doing in a state elections office?
Well, I think this is unprecedented. I know as much information as you know, as Americans know right now. But if this does turn out to be just one more part of Trump's retribution and attempts to rewrite 2020, I think that's deeply disturbing to the entire country.
There is just kind of like an unknown amount of people don't know quite how concerned they should be about 2026. I meant 2028, but 2026 is coming up first. And what the administration might do. If Donald Trump is going back and trying to say, I won in 2020 and I need to rewrite history, even though he did not, if he's willing to do that, there are real questions about what he's willing to do if he loses the House or the Senate or both in 2026. What are you preparing for?
We're preparing for everything. But I'll tell you, we were preparing for everything in 2020 also. So all types of contingencies. We actually just went to our legislature this week to ask for more resources. And we've been working with both our attorney general and the governor on all types of contingencies. I will say Trump has made our elections less safe since taking office the second time. He's disbanded the FBI and DHS's work on securing our elections from foreign adversaries. He's fired all the people, for the most part, we used to work with.
Okay. She's talking about, well, let her finish the sentence.
In the federal government on security. And he's
the CISA folks.
The CISA folks, exactly. They would provide great services to secretaries of state and to the counties. In Colorado, we're trying to pick up as many of the services as possible.
Okay, so they fired the FBI team. They fired the CISA team, right? The people that used to assist in protecting our elections, AKA helping overthrow them. That's what was really going on there. There's a movie called The Boys. It's about mutants. It's on Prime. And in one of the episodes, one of the mutants has the ability to like focus and blow up people's heads. And she's a congresswoman and she's sitting in a committee hearing and she blows up the Congress people's heads around her, and she protects herself and acts like she's, nearly missed being killed. And they create this new committee on mutant whatever affairs or mutant investigations. And they open this new committee building and they've got this new building and they've got this sign on the wall and it's supposed to like go after the mutants and stop all this injustice. And the committee chairman, the person that's the head of this, maybe it was an agency, it doesn't matter the story. The person that's the head of the agency is this mutant that is slowly working her way to the top of the food chain by taking out her competition using her mutant capabilities. She's evil. That's what's going on. When the FBI division on protecting elections was the FBI prediction on covering up the crime. The CISA protection guys were the ones that were opening the gates, the gates to the city, right? And in Colorado, we're signing up for all the services. Yeah, you're one of the most corrupt states. Tina Peters is in jail.
But we've seen Trump weaponize the DOJ to go after political opponents. We'll see if that's what's happening right now in Fulton County. And just like you, I don't know what's going to happen in 2026, but we will be prepared.
If he comes to try to seize voting machines, and I don't know if he would go to Colorado because Colorado hasn't been a state in the past that has voted for him. It's not like Georgia, which he thinks he should have won, or Arizona. But if he does try to go seize voting machines, what would you do? What can a Secretary of State do?
Well, there's not to get into all of our contingencies, but Donald Trump, by the way, has said in the past.
They have a plan. Not to get into all of our contingencies. They have a plan. They've got shredding trucks lined up. They've got bleach bit, ready to go. They have a plan. They've got contingencies. They've got legal plans too.
That he's lost Colorado and other states that use mail ballots because of mail ballots.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and he's been running a retribution campaign against Colorado now for almost a year because we have Tina Peters in prison.
Also a good point.
Yeah, so we don't know what's going to happen. But one of the first things we would do is file a lawsuit to stop them. And even if they seize voting equipment, we have the ballots. They're on paper ballots. So I don't think it will come to that. I hope it will not come to that. We will be ready. But there's no way that Trump is going to be able to seize voting equipment and change the outcome. That's just not how any of this works.
Well, what about this lawsuit from the DOJ for voter rolls?
Yeah.
Voter registration lists.
They are suing over 20 of us. They're trying to amass.
44 states have received requests. So suing more than 20.
Yeah, a lot of the Democratic secretaries of state have basically told the DOJ to go take a hike. I led a multi-state letter to the DOJ and DHS saying like, hey, why are you guys trying to amass all this information? Crickets. They won't tell us. So when they asked for social security numbers and driver's license numbers of Colorado voters, I said, no, they're suing us. 2 states, judges have already sided with the states over the DOJ. But I think there is another troubling issue. Number one, why are they amassing this information? What are they going to do? More disinformation, we'll see. But what is very troubling for our democracy and just so disgusting is the fact that Trump's attorney general basically sent a letter to Minnesota saying, if you want ICE out of here, one of the things you have to do is hand over voter data. So are they saying that ICE is creating chaos, killing 2 Americans over voter data?
That's interesting. That's really interesting. Jenna Griswold. Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you so much. Secretary of State of Colorado, really, really good to have you in person. Thanks for being here.
Over voter data. Yeah. The fraud happened because of voter data. It's absolutely all tied together. Absolutely all tied together. Ponyboy says 35 viewers. Nice. Yeah, and that was just on Rumble. We've got more on the other platforms as well. We're having a really good day today, guys. Please, if you haven't chatted with us before, jump in the chats, introduce yourself. We love you guys, the Peasants. We are the Peasants, right? Or Peasants Posse, whatever we should come up with an official name. Is we just the Peasants? Are we the Peasants Posse? What are we? All right. You can see there, these guys are really getting panicked. They've got contingency plans. What are they going to do? Again, I woke up this morning and I just feel like vindication was coming, right? And I've said many times, I've said it recorded, right? There's an order of operations. Trump had to get some things under control, get rid of certain actors. He had to get some trade deals done. I mean, all this stuff matters, but now it's happening. Now it's happening. This yesterday was not performative. I don't believe it was performative. This, what's been happening behind the scenes, all the criticism of Pam Bondi, the DOJ, this is the moment. This is the moment where maybe the tide has turned. Yes, maybe they've ignored all the other stuff. Yes, they didn't round up a bunch of Capitol Police officers. Yes. All that conspiracy seemed to be continuing. But in the background, they got a judge to look at the evidence and decide there was probable cause to sign a warrant to go and seize the ballots. Despite all their grumblings and all their whining and all their crying and assuring America that we elected communists into power. Nope, we didn't, because we have our convictions. And we will stand by them no matter what happens. Because we understand as peasants, we have to live here. That these are not temporary inconveniences. When communists get power, they take away freedom. And they always have. It's called collectivism. And it's come over time by many, many names. It's where the group asks you to sacrifice yourself for them. The amorphous blob, the comrades, the people as misinterpreted. Lay down your life for them. When was it honorable to give your life for the Roman Empire? 400 BC? Maybe 200 AD? Maybe right around the time that they were crucifying Christ. There was never a good time to take up the sword for Rome. But it was always a good time to share a meal with family, to raise your kids, to love your wife, to honor your parents. Those are eternal truths. We peasants understand the eternal truths. We understand that the decisions we make in this life, the words a father says in private, echo in the ears of his children through eternity. So as Americans who overthrew the crown, as Americans who secured for ourselves a place in history as independent people, coming together in a political body to rule ourselves, the great American experiment almost came to an end. But good people had the courage of their convictions. I love it. This is a good day in America. This is a sea change. Where can it go from here? Is the FBI going to cover it up? I don't know. But this right here says that we weren't dumb. That what we were looking at with the election fraud, eventually a judge would look at it finally after 5 years and go, yeah, that looks fishy. And of course, like we've seen, they're panicked. Mike Davis on War Room yesterday, who's been at the front of this fight against the weaponization of government, had this to say.
Yeah, when Democrats get caught with their hands in the cookie jar with their blatant crimes, I would say watch out for the riots. We may have Democrat instituted riots later, like they did in Minnesota, Minneapolis, when the Somali pirates got caught stealing billions of dollars in American taxpayer money, working with these Minnesota Democrat politicians. They tried to distract with riots. So who knows what they're going to do here. But I would just say this with Fulton County. What do they have? 500,000 ballots from the the 2020 election that they didn't want to turn over to the Justice Department as part of a lawsuit by the Justice Department. And then you had the FBI go raid and get these documents. It was authorized by a United States magistrate judge to get these voting records from 2020. What did they have to hide? It's amazing that 2020 was an anomaly, and Democrats squeaked by Joe Biden, who couldn't get out of his home and couldn't fill his COVID circles in 2020, somehow squeaked by in Georgia. And they don't want to turn over the evidence, and they say it's voter intimidation. How the hell is it voter intimidation to turn over ballots from 2020 that aren't tied to the voters? They are decoupled from the voter registration, so you wouldn't know how these people voted anyway. They just want to look at the ballots. It's obvious that the Democrats are hiding this because they have something to hide. They know that the 2020 election was rigged and stolen, and they're going to get caught.
As Tamara Garland's wife and his wingman and all that, she's worked with him side by side. She just said, "Hey, it is Fannie Wells. It's Fulton County. It's the election board there. It's the Democrats. It's a Democrat county." But she said there was establishment Republicans, Raffensperger in this crowd, Carr. They have not been particularly helpful in this. Mike Davis, why is that?
Well, I have a theory that Republican white Southern men tend to be the biggest cowards on the planet, particularly politicians. They're so scared of being called racist. They are so concerned about being accepted by the elite, and it's just something in their DNA with these Southern white Republican politicians that just make them total cowards. We saw this recently with James Comer, who essentially said that President Trump should wave the white flag and pull out of Minneapolis. I mean, it's unbelievable to me how these white male Republican politicians in the South can be utter cowards.
He's not wrong about that. And this goes to what I was just saying before. And I may or may not have had my camera on. Sorry, guys. But this goes to what I was saying before. They weaponize your virtue against them, right? So these Southern politicians, they just don't want to be racist, right? They need a couple black people to vote for them. So that's like the scarlet letter for them. So it makes them weak because they're easily manipulated by the allegations of racism because they want to be virtue. Their virtue's held against them. Right. But the politicians who really win are the ones who just lean into it and go, I'm not racist. You're crazy for saying that. Right. It means nothing. But in the South, they're afraid, which kind of leads to, these wishy-washy Southern male Democrats, like he says there. And it really is a symptom of just allowing our virtue to be weaponized against us. When what you're doing is right, stand on it. Stand on it. Right? Know what you're doing is right. Stand on it. You don't have to break other people's rights or offend them or go to a riot or anything like that, but stand on your rights. Be firm. Now, Pete Buttigieg explained to Jen Psaki that they need public support. They need a public outcry. Okay. Now, the situation up in Minnesota, the fraud is a huge deal, but what is taking up the airtime? Why is the news not talking about the fraud? Right? The reason is because you've got these little faux riots going on. These riots with there's hundreds of people, but Minneapolis, St. Paul, there's 1 million people. So you've got this tiny little group of people that's foreign funded, foreign organized. And what they're doing is they're putting a wrench into the normal operations of the legislature at the federal level and at really every level. You just saw Jenna Griswold from Colorado make a comment about the reason they're rioting in Minnesota is to cover up for the election. Why, they are all connected, and they're creating this national narrative which allows them to change the culture. And the culture, whatever we agree to as a public, whatever we consent to, becomes the law. And so the law was 2020 election wasn't stolen. Why? Because we believe the public thought it wasn't, but it really wasn't the case. Jamie Raskin here is explaining exactly what they need to happen. They need public outcry. They need images of violence so that in Congress, they can change the agenda. all the way down to literally changing the schedule and changing what things they're going to vote
all
on.
of the glory for where we are right now in terms of standing strong in Congress goes to the people of Minneapolis, who have woken up every day with blood and sweat and tears in the freezing cold to go out and protest and to confront the authoritarianism. And this one is yet another graphic example of how massive popular organizing completely transforms the political and legislative context.
Massive popular organizing changes the political landscape, right? The legislative landscape. So these riots that are happening in St. Paul, Minneapolis, which are involving maybe at max 1,000 people. Obviously, they had some afternoon where a bunch of people came out, but a few thousand people. We have a country of 350 million people. It's a tiny, tiny little sliver of people, but you can create so much noise when you see images of violence and short, edited videos and the moment of the shot being fired that we forget the big picture. This is about fraud. All that noise on TV is to have that shiny object. Look here, but not there, as Frazier said earlier in the chats. Look here, but not there. So here's an example of a look here, but not there situation. And here is Elizabeth Warren talking about Pet Preddy, who was shot by Border Patrol agents last week, right, which has caused all of this consternation. Up until yesterday, of course, when the news was about the ballots. Listen to how she describes this wonderful, peaceful ICU nurse who couldn't hurt a fly, right? This is what they want you to believe is happening when the reality on the ground is this.
Caring for people was at the core of who he was. He was incapable of causing harm. Alex carried patience, compassion, and calm as a steady light within him. Even at the very end, that light was there. I recognized his familiar stillness and signature calm composure. Caring for people was at the core of who he was. He was
I've got other clips, Patty Murray and a bunch of these other legislatures talking about Petty, right? At the core of who he is, look at what he did. He's still calm. He's kicking the ICE vehicle. You know how hard you have to kick a vehicle to knock the taillight off? Oh my gosh. Literally a minute before he's shot. He's loaded. He's armed at this moment. You tell me that's a peaceful protester? They want us to see that and think it's a peaceful protester. The real credit, the glory goes to the protesters in Minneapolis that are standing up to all this fascism and violence and stuff like that. That's who they're talking about. That's who they're talking about. St. George Floyd, the fentanyl addict that overdosed on fentanyl in front of the cops. Yeah, that guy, the one that was saying, I can't breathe when he was in the cop car with no hands on him, frothing at the mouth, having a fentanyl overdose. That guy, yeah, our hero, George St. Floyd. Well, there's our hero, Pet Pretty, right? And of course, you got Renee Good and pretty, pretty good. This is a pretty good couple people, to throw out there and create this media firestorm. And one of the concerns is you had Renee Good and then you have Pretty. Guess what? They're going to need a third one. They're going to need another one. They're going to need more victims to go out and be fodder. Why? Because they got to cover up how much stuff? How much stuff do they have to cover up at this point? Elections, COVID, right? The J6 persecution, weaponization of government against Donald Trump, the E. Jean Carroll case, on and on and on and on it goes. And the whole point of everything they're doing, it's just like I had that conversation with the Zoomerwaffens on the plane. And the girl goes, Trump's a convicted sexual assaulter or rapist. And I'm like, no, he's not. The whole point of all of that was so that here, 5 years later, you would say that and believe it because you don't fact check it because, confirmation bias. The news says he's horrible. Of course he's a rapist. Of course he assaulted someone. No, he didn't. It's all manufactured. Well, what about all his felonies? I had that conversation with the people on the plane too, the Zoomerwaffens. What about his felony convictions? And I had to explain to them. They had to change the New York Constitution. They had to turn misdemeanors into felonies. They took bookkeeping entries and they made each one of them a crime when in normal order of course, that's all looped into one crime, right? They were supposed to be a felony attached to turn those misdemeanors into felonies. What was the felony? There wasn't one. The Federal Election Commission, which they alleged was the crime that was being broken with some FEC law, said there was no crime committed. The whole thing was a farce. But why did they do it? Why did they go to New York, the land that law lost? because they knew if they could get a couple convictions that you wouldn't look into it. Because you don't read people like Jonathan Turley. You don't watch conservative news. You get all of your news, and they said it because the New York Times, because they live in New York. The one does, at least. So that's the paper of record. When in reality, it's the biggest psyop of all. It's the biggest psyop of all. South Park makes light of so many things. They do such a good job. And they had this little clip yesterday because do you remember our friend Bananas and Rice? In fact, let me see. Before I show this, let me share it with you. Give me just a moment to find it. So Bananas and Rice was arrested yesterday. The Somali gal that did the whole Bananas and Rice nonsense, she was arrested yesterday. I got to go find, I want to find her mugshot. She was arrested along with, I think, 16 other protesters for USC 18111A, which I'm very familiar with because that is an assault on a federal officer. That is the charge I got, and I got a 7-year sentence with that charge. So these people who have been arrested, this is no little deal. At a minimum, they're probably looking at 2 years in federal prison for assault on a federal officer. I'm trying to find these mugshots. There was so much news yesterday. I mean, Nicki Minaj was talking. There's some more Ilhan Omar shakeup. It just goes on and on. I could do a 4 or 5 hour show today, honestly. But let me see if I can find the mugshot of these people because Banana and Rice got arrested. Oh my goodness. There was so much stuff. I'm scrolling endlessly through my saved stuff here, and I'll give it about 4 more seconds before I call it quits. Okay, looks like we've gone too far. Let me see if I can do a search for it. Bananas and Rice. Bananas and Rice. Okay, so here's our friend, Bananas and Rice. So she was indicted yesterday, along with 16 others. And she's actually the only black person that was indicted. So there's her mugshot. There's our friend Bananas and Rice. Oh my goodness. It makes me laugh. I really feel sympathetic. Honestly, I do. I feel very sympathetic because, okay.
So I'm Somali. I'm proud to be Somali. To me, being Somali isn't just eating bananas with rice. It's a lot. It's like, it's an interesting thing. It's very hard to describe what it means to be Somali and what it means to be American, but it's like a cultural fusion. It's kind of like the bananas and rice. You know, people don't really see like, you know, it's you know, people don't think, oh, you can eat bananas with rice, but that's what it's like to be Somali and American. It's like that combination of banana and rice, but you're gonna get what I mean.
Yeah, we're gonna get exactly what you mean. So at the end, she says, "You're gonna get what I mean." So that's bananas and rice. So she was arrested yesterday, USC 111A. I'm familiar with the charge. I got the same charge. She's looking at actual, real, serious prison time, and I suspect she's gonna be, you know, they're gonna play that press conference back at her trial, and she's gonna feel real stupid because the reality is South Park nailed it. This is what's really happening with bananas and rice.
I was basically raised on bananas and rice, okay, in a Somali daycare, which was very formative, and people don't get that that's like culture and nutrition. So when I speak from...
In light of recent conversations, we are proposing a pilot program to transition public school lunches to bananas and rice.
Huh? Wait, what?
This is about inclusion. This is about listening, and frankly, the people are demanding like bananas and rice.
Excited to announce new products, bananas and rice, available at select Walmarts nationwide.
Are these all empty? Every single one.
No way. This can't be real.
Bananas and rice, gone.
Guys, you're seeing this like there's nothing, just cardboard.
Look, this internet guy is simply wrong. We have strict oversight. They looked in the boxes before they were filled, and I can assure you, so clearly, nothing happened.
So the bananas and the rice, they were stolen. We don't know by who. We don't know when. They're just gone.
Hey, why you stand there looking? We're busy, okay? We have bananas, we have rice. You don't know what we are doing.
Yes, go mind your own business.
We unload, we load, finish. That's all.
Why you keep staring? You think it's funny?
We have bananas, we have rice. Plan isn't just...
Oh. Oh, hold on. Let me go back here, you guy. I stopped sharing just moments before it was over. You don't get to hear the punchline.
It's culture, it's history, it's identity, and yes, it's like bananas with rice.
It's culture, it's identity. Yes, it's like bananas with rice. It's all a grift, you guys. It's all a grift. It's so crazy. I just wanted to show you this to you guys. So these guys are some of the protesters in Minneapolis. And I just have to say, FYI, public service announcement for anybody, don't shake the gate. You don't need to hear it. Don't shake the gate. I'm showing on the video here, these guys shaking the gate. That is a federal offense right there. Don't shake the gate. I've been there, done that. It's not worth it. But it's images like that that made me think it was okay to shake the gate. That's what I thought we would do. Instead, I ended up in prison. Don't shake the gate. So, one of the giant problems we have with the way the government is set up is they have this incredible amount of power, namely the National Security Administration. They've got that facility down in Lehi, Utah that has enough data storage to capture every single text message, picture, keystroke, telephone call, every single bit of digital data that runs across American infrastructure is captured in that data storage center for the next 500 years. They have everything, right? You talk about Big Brother, they've got it. They've got that tool. We gave it to them after 9/11 with the Patriot Act. But why is it that we keep seeing all these massive crimes that are at scale that involve foreign actors who allegedly you can spy on? Why is it that it's constantly we, the people, the little guys, that end up uncovering this fraud that then causes the government to take action? Glenn Beck addresses this. This is a beautiful rant, and I share the same sentiment.
It's people like you. It's normal people who have a skill. Data Republican is just a mole, man. She just knows how to find stuff. Cam Higbee seems to be the same kind of person. Just goes in and knows how to find stuff and is exposing all of it. And you have people, Ryan Morrow doing the same thing. With us yesterday, we exposed a big thing that he found as well in his investigation. So a lot of things are happening. Here is the other thing that I want to point out. The federal government, Donald Trump, just issued a statement today asking for certain things and saying there's no quarter on this. You are going to do these things, and that is enforce the federal law. You have to turn these criminal aliens over. He is investigating, FBI is investigating, et cetera, but so far, everything that has been found by people like Cam Higbee. Can I ask you what the hell we're paying the NSA for? They have, I don't remember what the spooky computer is called, Colossus, that has every keystroke you've ever made. We have an insurrection going on, and the NSA is not able to track this stuff down and connect all the dots. What the hell did we pay for? Because I know they can track down anything that if you're doing something, they're going to track that down. What? This is the thing that we need to start asking the government. What the hell did we pay for? Why did we have to give all of this, ground on the Patriot Act? You're recording every keystroke every American makes. We know it. It's true. So why the hell are we having Cam Higbee being the one that is saying, by the way, did you see this? The NSA, the government, should be standing up every day going, here it is, and here's the definitive connection to everything that they're doing. Here's how they're all related, and here come the charges. I would expect to see that pretty soon. And if not, again, Pam Bondi, I would ask, why isn't that happening?
Why isn't it happening? So we would expect to see charges. Now, one of the things that happened yesterday was Tulsi Gabbard made an appearance in Fulton County. So let's look at that. I haven't listened to this clip, so let's listen to it together. But this is confirmation on Fox News that Tulsi Gabbard was at Fulton County.
Are going through materials found today during a search of the Fulton County, Georgia election office. That search is said to be related to the 2020 election. Correspondent David Spont has details tonight. Good evening, David.
Brett, good evening. FBI agents are still on site at the records warehouse for the Fulton County, Georgia Board of Elections. The matter is sealed before a court, meaning details are limited, but we can report
that's a picture of Tulsi Gabbard right there
to the 2020 presidential election. Sources tell Fox News that agents retrieved documents, phones, and computers after a judge signed a warrant. President Trump has long made Georgia, and specifically Fulton County, a target.
All right, it doesn't look like they're talking specifically about Tulsi Gabbard, but that's a picture of Tulsi Gabbard there. Now, why would the director of national intelligence be at the Fulton County place? Whoops, kicked my camera. Be at the Fulton County election center. Why would she be there? Oh, I don't know. Could it have something to do with foreign interference in our elections? It's coming, folks. It is coming. I'm just so excited. All right. I got a couple more things I want to share with you. One of the things that I mention all the time is you cannot vote yourself out of an indoctrinated society. Even if we were to clean up these elections, how terrifying would it be if we still have hardcore communists, people with very nefarious agenda coming into power? Let me give you an example of someone. This is Josh Cedar. He's kind of a provocateur online. He goes and gets people to say really stupid things, and he dresses up like a homosexual. No offense there. Right? It's not that there's anything wrong with that, to quote Seinfeld. And he goes and he basically gets them to say some things that are very scary. This is the concern I have with the Zoomerwaffens. This is the concern I have with the nonstop years of media gaslighting. So Josh walked up to this house that flies this flag. Now, I've got a couple neighbors on my street that have roadside signs that are this flag, right? It's the gay flag with all human rights, or all human rights are human rights. No humans are illegal. You know, in this house, science is real. Love is love, blah, 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 right? We've all seen this before. So he walks up to her and he says, hey, do you mind taking a survey? This is what I'm concerned about. This is a real clip. This is a real person in a real American neighborhood. These are the people that we have to be concerned with, right? And it's like, not because we need to do anything, but we've got to be aware that this is out there in the water.
Can I help you?
Hi. I actually, do you live here?
Yeah, I do. And why are you recording?
So I saw your flag and I really appreciate it because I'm actually with the Fighting Fascism and Right-Wing Tyranny Symposium, or the FARTS. And we're under a lot of pressure right now because we're trying to defend against MAGA. So we're circulating a short questionnaire. I was wondering if you'd be willing to answer a couple questions.
Yeah, I can do that for you.
Okay, great. I'm Finn, by the way.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I saw your flag, so I figured you'd be a good person to ask. Would you support labeling conservatives domestic terrorists?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And I mean, we might as well call them maggots, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you do that sometimes?
I do.
Okay. Wow. And do you let your kids interact with maggots at school or anywhere?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. And would you support kind of just rounding up these maggots and putting them in jail or re-education camps so they can understand why their beliefs are harmful?
Yeah, I would.
Okay, great. And the last question, do you understand that you sound just like a Nazi?
No, I don't.
Yeah, you literally sound exactly like a Nazi. You want to round up the maggots and put them in jail and re-education camps, and you won't let your kids interact with them?
Okay, and what's
your
point?
Okay, you think you're against fascism, but you're actually endorsing fascist policies.
No, I'm not. Just get off my property.
Okay, now you really sound like a fascist because you're. I thought no human is illegal. I thought no human was illegal.
Get off of my property now.
Take care. I'll put you. The farts are gonna put you on a fart watch list.
The farts are going to put you on a fart watch list. That's what I have legitimate concerns about. Being from Seattle, I meet people like that all the time. And, you know, we believe that you can meet on common ground, but unless you can talk to these people, unless you can reason with them face to face, that's what they're going to vote for. They're going to vote for candidates that support policies that are fascist, that are, you know, communists, that are oppressive. And they don't know they're doing it because apparently they don't own a mirror. They can't look at themselves in the mirror and say, hey, maybe what I'm doing is wrong. And it's no surprise that celebrities are like this. The surprise is when it's your normal run-of-the-mill people, your next door neighbors that are just flying a flag that says love is love. But it comes from this, right? It's famous people. It's Hollywood that puts this into our system. And then it's reinforced by the news networks, which are all registered as what? Entertainment companies. Listen to this. This is an actor. He's on Breaking Bad. He's on a show called Revolution that I really enjoyed. He's not a bad actor. He's kind of a B-list actor. But nonetheless, listen to the vitriol here.
This is time for a revolution. It's time for it, and they don't even know that's what they're starting. Some very rich old white men are exerting their power to suppress our own people, thus creating a feeling of civil war in the streets, preparing the haters to hate, teaching them how to shoot. They're not even trained right, to kill. This is all a preparation for a very insidious problem that's happening in our world. And for me, I have to speak out that we will not be iced out. This is not going to happen. They can't take us all down. If the whole world showed up on Putin's doorstep or on the Iranians' doorstep or in Washington, it would they'll kill 550 million, however, but the rest of us would survive with this is time for a revolution.
They'll kill 550 million of us, but the rest of us will survive. You know why? Because he won't be there standing on the front line. They won't be there. The elite don't go to the protests. The elite don't get shot. Who gets shot? Guys like you and me, people like Ashley Babbitt or Renee Good. That's who gets shot.
It's time for it, and they don't even know that's what they're starting. But we have to be strong enough to know that we can change the world. We have to change it from within. So if I'm spiritually ready and right, and I'm ready to understand other people and to agree to disagree with them and say, okay, let's find the solution together, then that starts to change things. Not by deporting immigrants, not by killing brown and even white people on the street. It's crossing over now, and believe me, this is gonna really spark the nature of so many people who are gonna show up and say no more. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take it anymore.
And in the face of the realization that the future elections might produce nothing but a bunch of those maggots they're so afraid of, look at what they're doing over deporting pedophiles and illegal aliens in the United States. Willing to burn down buildings, assault IFOS officers, bite off their fingers. And that clip was recorded before a warrant was served to collect ballots in Fulton County. It was served before that. And if you don't think that our adversaries are coming after us, there's something in China called the 50 Cent Army. And it's a army of keyboard warriors, literally thousands and thousands of keyboard warriors in China that put out information into the media ecosystem around the world to foment revolution and to enforce communist ideology. This is one of those people right here. So this clip comes from TikTok, and as you know, that's wildly popular with youth in America. Most of our listeners, a lot of you guys probably don't even have a TikTok account, but it's the #1 app for youth. This is their social media. It's the Chinese app. It's being taken over by some American companies, but TikTok brain rot. Kids see these little short form videos and they kind of get hooked in. This guy is telling Americans exactly what's coming and exactly what to do. Create lists of people because they believe in 2026 and 2028 that they can take power again, which is why picking up those ballots in Fulton County is such a big deal, because they could have just rolled forward with the way things were. The machines are good. Okay, we've eliminated some mail-in ballots. We've got valid observers this time, right? But they were going to steal it. And after they stealed it, they were going to wage war on conservatives in America.
If you have an American flag in front of your house, swipe away. Do not watch this video. Okay, there's about 10% Americans want a revolution. It's too early, but it's not too early to prepare for the revolution. Let me share with you a business plan to prepare for the revolution. Right now, it's 2026. If some households still have an American flag in front of their house, that means those people are supporting the American system. They are your enemy, and they will be your enemy when the revolution starts. Before you eat the rich, you need more resource and weapons. Where to get all these resources and weapons? Get it from those households who got American flag in from their house. Okay, so you guys also need to have a community set up a website and ask all your members to take picture of every household who got American flag and upload those information to your website, at the address of each household. When the time comes, you guys can use this information as evidence to eat them first. Eat them, God will support you. Buddha will support you. Eat them with no regret, okay? So this is my business plan for you. When the time comes, some household, they will pay you a lot of money just to take off those information off your website.
Can you believe that? The communists have a plan. The Marxists have a plan. They are, in fact, fomenting another revolution. Another don't meet your hero fact. Not my hero, but I like the character in the series. Yes, absolutely, Shiva 4ZVO. Yeah, oh, so peaceful, exactly. Yeah. Oh, we want to be super peaceful. We love is love. Yes, round up the conservatives, put them in a concentration camp, call them maggots. Identify all the houses with an American flag, put them on a list, extort them later. Extort them later. Wow. That's happening. That's happening. If you don't think we're at war with communist China, they know they're at war with us. That's one of their 50-cent army putting that message out to encourage your neighbors to keep track of you and your flags, right? They strike first. That's their business plan. They strike first because oftentimes he who punches first wins. Okay, guys, that's it for our public show today. I am going to be heading over into private, and I'm going to spend quite a bit of time over there. We're going to scroll through the live news. There's a press conference going on with Tom Holman in Minnesota. We're going to be looking at all of that. Please do not forget to register for 1776live.us is Ignite event tonight. I will be doing that presentation. It's really good. We invite everybody to come join our private member association where we find solutions to the problems that we talk about every day on this show. So please join us over there. We'd love to have you. We love all the new chatters that joined us today. Thank you so much. Hopefully tomorrow we'll be back up to normal with Ron in studio. I know you guys miss him so much. He is one of the best parts about this show. Doug reminded me, Ron doesn't really pay attention to the news or watch the news. So when we play some of these clips, it's really the first time he's heard it. And his reactions are absolutely priceless. I love having him in here. He's a real peasant. He's a real dude. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to visit leftbehindandwithout.org where you can help children of incarcerated parents because it's not their fault, but we want to give them sports programs and after-school activities so that they can have good, positive role models, mentors, and something to do with their time so they don't end up on the streets. So leftbehindandwithout.org, and of course, peasantsperspective.com, and always, always, always 1776 live.us is our home, and that's where you can find us and interact with us directly. All right, guys, that's it for the public show. We're jumping over to private, and we'll see you on the other side.